classified ad said seasonal employment, $4,200 a month plus housing. No experience required. I had $19,000 in student debt and a teaching license I couldn't use after what happened in Spokane. The park's name wasn't listed. The contact number had a Montana area code. I called on a Thursday. A woman answered, asked 3 questions. Could I work nights? Did I have family who would report me missing within 72 hours? Was I comfortable with isolation? I said yes, no, and yes. She mailed me a bus ticket to a town called Ridgers Crossing, population 400, no cell service. The bus dropped me at a gas station at 6:47 in the evening, and a man in a green uniform was waiting by a white pickup truck. He didn't shake my hand. "You're Adler." "Yes, get in." We drove for 2 hours into the mountains. The road turned to gravel, then to dirt, then to something that was barely a road at all. The trees closed in until the headlights made a tunnel. He didn't speak. I watched the odometer, 34 miles from the gas station, then 41, then 56. At 62 miles, we reached a wooden gate with no sign. He unlocked it with a key from a ring of 12. I counted them while he worked the padlock. 12 keys, each a different color of electrical tape wrapped around the head. The station was a 2-story structure built from logs that had gone gray with age. A radio tower stood behind it, maybe 80 feet tall, with a red light blinking at the top. There was a generator shed to the east, a storage building to the west, and a parking area with 3 other vehicles. 2 trucks and an ATV with a trailer hitch. He handed me a manila envelope as we walked to the front door. "Your employment packet. Read everything tonight. Supervisor Ellison will call at 0600 tomorrow on Channel 4. You'll have questions. Don't ask them on the radio. Write them down. He visits on the 15th of each month." "When's that?" 11 days. He unlocked the front door with the blue taped key. Inside, a main room with a desk, a cot, a wood stove, a kitchenette in the corner, stairs leading up, a door to what looked like a supply closet, another door, this one metal and heavy, marked records. Bathrooms upstairs. Generator runs 20 hours a day, shuts off from 2 to 6 a.m. to save fuel. There's a backup battery system for the radio and the exterior lights. Don't rely on it for anything else. I set my bag on the cot. What's my actual job? He was already walking back toward the door. Trail maintenance, visitor assistance, radio check-ins. It's all in the packet. That's it. He stopped with his hand on the knob. For the first time, he looked directly at me. His eyes were pale gray, almost colorless in the dim light. "Read the packet, Adler. All of it. Tonight." He left. I heard his truck start, heard the gravel crunch as he pulled away. Then nothing but wind in the trees and the hum of the generator. I opened the envelope. Inside, a map of the park with no name printed anywhere on it, a schedule of radio check-in times, a list of emergency frequencies, a 4-page document titled Operational Protocols for Remote Station Personnel, and a smaller envelope with my name written on it, in handwriting I didn't recognize. I started with the protocols. The first 3 pages were standard: radio procedures, generator maintenance, supply inventory requirements, trail closure documentation, how to log visitor contacts, how to report wildlife encounters, how to request medical evacuation, though the nearest hospital was 112 miles away, and helicopter response time averaged 4 hours in good weather. The 4th page was different. It was typed on older paper, slightly yellowed. The font was different, a typewriter, not a computer. At the top, someone had written in pen, "Mandatory, no exceptions." I read it once, then I read it again. 1. Between sunset and sunrise, do not open the front door for any reason unless you have confirmed the identity of the person outside using the radio on channel 4, and received a response using that day's code word. The code word changes at midnight. A list of monthly code words is taped inside the radio cabinet. If the person outside cannot provide the correct code word, do not acknowledge them. Do not speak to them. Do not look at them through the window. Return to the center of the main room and wait until they leave. 2. If you hear knocking at any door or window between the hours of 11 p.m. and 4:30 a.m., ignore it. Do not approach the door or window. Do not attempt to identify the source. If the knocking continues for more than 15 minutes, tune your radio to channel 7 and key the microphone 3 times without speaking. Wait for a response. 3. The storage building to the west of the station is off limits after dark. If you need supplies after sunset, retrieve them before 7 p.m. and do not return to the storage building until sunrise. If you see the storage building door standing open after dark, do not close it. Note the time and report it during your 6 a.m. check-in. 4. During your nightly patrol at 9:30 p.m., walk the perimeter of the station at a distance of exactly 25 feet from the exterior walls. Do not deviate from this distance. Count your steps. A complete circuit should take between 200 and 230 steps, depending on your stride. If your count exceeds 240 steps, stop immediately. Return to the station by the most direct route, and do not complete the patrol. 5. Between 2:10 a.m. and 2:30 a.m., cover the window above the desk with the blackout curtain stored in the supply closet. The curtain must be secured on all 4 corners. At 2:31 a.m., remove the curtain and fold it. Do not look out the window during the time it is covered. 6. If you see a figure standing at the tree line during daylight hours, you may observe it. If you see a figure standing at the tree line after dark, do not observe it. Do not acknowledge it. Continue your work as if it is not there. 7. Visitors to the park may arrive at the station during daylight hours for trail information or emergency assistance. Sign them in using the logbook on the desk. If a visitor arrives after 5 p.m., they must leave the station area before sunset. You may not offer overnight accommodation. If a visitor refuses to leave, radio channel 4 immediately and wait for instructions. 8. The trail leading north from the station is closed permanently. The closure sign is posted 400 yards from the station. If you find the sign has been moved, damaged, or removed, replace it immediately and note the incident in your daily log. Do not walk past the sign for any reason. 9. If you hear your name called from outside the station between midnight and 5 a.m., do not respond. The voice may sound familiar. It may sound like someone you know. It may sound like someone you trusted. Do not respond. 10. Once per week, on Sunday, at 10 a.m., inventory the contents of the storage building. The inventory list is posted on the interior wall. If any items are missing, damaged, or present in different quantities than recorded, do not attempt to correct the discrepancy. Note it in your log and report it to Supervisor Ellison during his monthly visit. 11. The records room is locked at all times. You do not have a key. Do not attempt to open it. Do not ask about its contents. 12. If the generator fails between midnight and 4 a.m., do not attempt to restart it. Use the battery-powered lamp stored beneath the cot. Remain in the main room. Do not go upstairs. Wait for the automatic restart at 6 a.m. or for sunrise, whichever comes first. I set the paper down. The wind had picked up outside. I could hear it moving through the trees, a sound like breathing. The generator hummed. The red light on the radio tower blinked through the window above the desk. The window I was supposed to cover between 2:10 and 2:30 a.m. I opened the smaller envelope with my name on it. Inside was a single sheet of paper with handwritten notes. The handwriting was shaky, uneven. Someone writing quickly, or someone whose hands were no longer steady. The protocols are real. Follow them exactly. I lasted 8 months and 17 days. The job pays well because most people don't last one. The things in the park are patient. They learn your voice. They learn your face. They learn who you miss. Don't give them anything they can use. The North Trail isn't closed because of erosion. The storage building isn't off limits because of structural damage. The records room isn't locked because of bureaucratic policy. I'm writing this because no one wrote it for me. I don't know if it will help. I don't know if you'll believe it. But when you hear the knocking, and you will, don't answer. When they call your name, and they will, don't answer. When they show you someone you love standing at the tree line, and they will, don't answer. Stay inside, follow the rules, count your steps, watch the clock. Good luck, you'll need it. M. Vasquez, previous occupant. I folded the letter and put it in my pocket. Then I checked the clock on the wall. 8:23 p.m. Sunset was at 8:47 according to the schedule in my packet. I had 24 minutes to inventory the supply closet and find the blackout curtain. I got to work. The first 3 nights were quiet. I followed the protocols exactly. 9:30 p.m. patrol. 218 steps, staying precisely 25 feet from the walls, counting under my breath. I used a tape measure the first night to mark the distance, drove small stakes into the ground at the corners so I could maintain the perimeter in the dark. 2:10 a.m., blackout curtain up, all 4 corners secured with the hooks I found already mounted in the window frame. I sat at the desk with my back to the covered glass, reading an old field guide to local birds, not looking, not thinking about what I wasn't looking at. 2:31 a.m. Curtain down, folded, returned to the closet. The window showed nothing but darkness and the reflection of my lamp. 6 a.m. Radio check-in on Channel 4. Supervisor Ellison's voice, flat and professional. Station 14, confirm operational status. Station 14 operational, no incidents to report. Acknowledged, stand by for updated weather. That was it. Every morning, no questions about how I was adjusting. No inquiries about my well-being, just confirmation and weather. On the 4th night, I heard the knocking for the first time. It started at 11:47 p.m., 23 minutes before midnight. I was sitting at the desk, updating my supply log. 14 batteries in reserve, 3 gallons of kerosene, 42 meals of freeze-dried rations, 17 bottles of water, 4 flares, and 1 fire extinguisher with the gauge reading 3/4 full. The knock came from the front door. 3 sharp raps, evenly spaced. I set down my pen. Protocol 2. Do not approach. Do not attempt to identify the source. I sat very still. The knock came again. 3 raps, same rhythm, same location. I looked at the clock. 11:49 p.m. The knock came a 3rd time. Then a voice. Hello? Is anyone there? I'm lost. I need help. Female voice. Young. Frightened. Exactly the kind of voice you would open a door for. I didn't move. Please, my phone is dead. I've been walking for hours. I just need to use your radio." Protocol 1 required radio confirmation with the day's code word before opening the door. I reached for my radio, tuned to channel 4, and keyed the microphone. "Unidentified visitor at station 14. Please confirm your identity and provide today's code word." Silence from the radio. The knocking stopped. I waited. At 11:53 p.m., the voice outside spoke again. "I don't have a radio. I don't know what you're talking about. Please just let me in. It's cold out here." I said nothing. Protocol 2. "If the knocking continues for more than 15 minutes, tune to channel 7 and key 3 times without speaking." I watched the clock. 11:54, 11:55, 11:56. The knocking resumed, but the rhythm was different now. Faster, more insistent. Not 3 raps, but continuous. A steady pounding that made the door rattle in its frame. "Let me in, let me in, let me in." The same voice, but wrong. Too flat, too even. The words repeating without variation, like a recording on a loop. 11:58, 11:59. At exactly midnight, the pounding stopped. I waited another 5 minutes, then 10, then 20. Nothing. I completed my log entry. Unidentified auditory contact at front door, 11:47 p.m. to midnight. No visual confirmation. Did not breach protocol. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I walked the perimeter in daylight. The ground around the front door was undisturbed. No footprints. No marks in the dirt. The door showed no damage. But there was something at the tree line, 60 yards out, just where the forest began. A shape standing in the shadows. I stopped and looked. Protocol 6 allowed observation during daylight hours. It was a figure, human-shaped, wearing what looked like a Park Service uniform. Green shirt, tan pants, the same colors as the man who'd driven me here. But I couldn't see the face. The shadows were too deep, even with the morning sun breaking through the canopy. The figure didn't move. It just stood there, watching me. I finished my perimeter check, no signs of intrusion, no damage to the exterior, and went back inside. When I looked out the window 10 minutes later, the tree line was empty. I noted it in my log. I didn't mention it during the 6 a.m. check-in. I wasn't sure why. Something about saying it out loud felt like giving it weight, making it more real than I wanted it to be. That afternoon, I made my weekly trip to the storage building. It was a simple structure, maybe 20 feet by 30 feet, with a padlock on the door that matched the green taped key on my ring. Inside, shelving units stacked with supplies. Everything from toilet paper to motor oil to emergency medical kits. A workbench in the back with tools hanging from a pegboard. A list on the wall itemizing every item and its expected quantity. I counted everything, cross-referenced it with the list. Everything matched except for one item, flashlights. The list said 4. I counted 3. I wrote it down, noted the discrepancy for my log. Per Protocol 10, I did not attempt to correct it. When I stepped outside, the sun was lower than I expected. 5:32 p.m. by my watch. I had an hour and 23 minutes until sunset. I locked the storage building and walked back to the station, counting my steps without thinking about it. 47 from the storage building door to the station's front porch. That night, the knocking came again at 11:19 p.m. A different pattern this time. 2 knocks, a pause, then 2 more, like a code. I didn't respond. At 11:41, a voice I didn't recognize. "Adler, it's Ellison. I need to speak with you about tomorrow's inspection." Supervisor Ellison, but his voice was wrong, too smooth, too perfectly modulated, like someone had averaged out all the natural variations in his speech. I keyed the radio. Channel 4 to anyone claiming to be Supervisor Ellison. Provide today's code word. Nothing. The voice outside the door. I don't understand. Adler, open the door. This is urgent. The code word for today was cardinal. I waited. Adler, open the door. I sat in the center of the room and waited. At 2 minutes past midnight, the voice stopped. I heard footsteps, heavy, deliberate, walking away from the door, not toward the tree line, toward the storage building. I looked at the blackout curtain in the closet. It was 1:52 a.m., 18 minutes until I was supposed to cover the window. I sat at my desk and watched the clock. At 2:08 a.m., I stood up to get the curtain. As I crossed to the closet, I glanced out the window. Just a glance, automatic, the kind of look you give without thinking. The storage building door was open. The door I had locked at 5:32 p.m. was standing open, a black rectangle against the darker gray of the building's exterior. Protocol 3. If you see the storage building door standing open after dark, do not close it. Note the time and report it during your 6 a.m. check-in. I pulled the blackout curtain from the closet, crossed back to the window, and secured it in place. All 4 corners, hooks fastened tight. I did not look outside again. I sat at the desk with my back to the covered window and read my field guide. Cardinals, chickadees, nuthatches, the small birds that stayed through winter, the ones that didn't migrate. At 2:31 a.m., I removed the curtain and folded it. The window showed the same view as before. The storage building, 62 yards away. Its door still open. But something was different. There was a light inside, a pale blue glow, barely visible, pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. It hadn't been there before. I was certain of it. I noted the time, 2:33 a.m. I noted the observation. Anomalous light source in storage building following door breach. Pulsing blue illumination. Source unknown. I did not investigate. At 6 a.m., I reported the open door during my check-in. Supervisor Ellison's voice, flat as ever. Acknowledged. Close and secure the building at first light. Do not enter until you have completed a perimeter inspection. First light came at 6:27 a.m. I walked to the storage building with my flashlight in one hand and my keys in the other. The door was still open. The interior was dark. No blue light, no illumination of any kind. I did a perimeter check, walked around the building twice, maintaining a distance of 10 feet from the walls. The ground showed no tracks, no disturbances. The padlock was still attached to the door, but it was open, the shackle hanging loose from the hasp, as if someone had unlocked it with a key. I had the only key. I closed the door. I secured the padlock. I walked back to the station and wrote my report. The storage building inventory showed a new discrepancy. The missing flashlight had been returned. 4 flashlights, as the list specified. But now there was something else missing. One of the emergency medical kits. The list said 3. I counted 2. I noted the discrepancy. I did not attempt to correct it. Supervisor Ellison arrived on the 15th, as promised. He came in a white pickup truck, same as the man who delivered me. But Ellison was older, late 60s, with gray hair cut short and hands that showed decades of outdoor work. He walked with a slight limp, favoring his left leg. He didn't greet me when he arrived. He went straight to the radio cabinet, checked the seals, checked the battery levels, checked the list of code words taped inside. Then he inspected my logs. He spent 40 minutes reading. I sat at the cot and waited. Finally, he looked up. "You've had 3 contact events in 11 days. "Yes, sir." "Knocking, voice mimicry, storage building breach." "Yes, sir." He closed my logbook. "That's higher than average for a new placement. Typically, we don't see sustained activity until the 3rd or 4th week. Should I be concerned?" He didn't answer directly. Instead, he reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded sheet of paper. "There are supplemental protocols. I don't give them to everyone. Most people don't last long enough to need them. But your logs are clean. Your compliance is exact. You might be one of the ones who stays." He handed me the paper. "Read it, memorize it, add it to your nightly routine." I unfolded the sheet. More typewritten text, same yellowed paper as the original protocols. Amended operational protocols, Addendum 11A. If the knocking at any door or window is accompanied by a voice you recognize, family, friend, colleague, or former acquaintance, do not respond under any circumstances. The voice is not authentic. Respond only to radio confirmation with the correct daily code word. 2A. During your nightly patrol, if you observe any figure standing within 50 yards of the station perimeter, don't complete the patrol. Return to the station by the most direct route. Enter through the front door only. And radio channel 4 with the phrase "perimeter compromised," requesting guidance. Wait for a response before resuming normal operations. 3A. The storage building may show signs of entry between the hours of midnight and 4 a.m., even when properly secured. If you observe the door open, lights inside, or movement within the building during these hours, do not investigate until daylight. Do not approach the building during nighttime hours, under any circumstances. 4A. If you observe a figure at the tree line wearing a park service uniform, do not acknowledge it. Do not wave. Do not speak to it. Do not attempt to verify its identity. Legitimate park personnel will always announce their approach via radio on Channel 4 with the correct code word before arriving at your station. 5A. Between the hours of 3 a.m. and 3:45 a.m., you may hear footsteps circling the station at a distance. Do not attempt to count them. Do not attempt to track their pattern. Do not look out the windows. Remain in the center of the main room until the sounds cease. 6A. If the radio produces static or unusual sounds between midnight and 5 a.m., do not respond. Do not attempt to clear the interference. Do not adjust the channel. Wait for the sounds to stop. If they continue for more than 10 minutes, disconnect the radio's antenna cable and reconnect it at sunrise. I read the amendments twice. "The footsteps," I said. "I haven't heard those yet." "You will." Ellison stood up, collected his clipboard, and walked to the door. At the threshold, he paused. "Vasquez, the previous occupant. Did he leave anything for you?" I hesitated. "A letter, with the original packet." "What did it say?" "That the protocols are real, that I should follow them exactly." Ellison nodded slowly. Vasquez was good. 8 months, 17 days. One of our longest placements. He looked out at the tree line. He requested transfer. We granted it. But he left the park different than he arrived. Different how? Ellison didn't answer. He stepped outside, and I heard his truck start. I watched him drive down the dirt road until the trees swallowed his taillights. That night, I heard the footsteps for the first time. It started at 3:12 a.m. A rhythmic sound, like boots on packed earth, circling the station at a steady pace. Not fast, not slow. Deliberate. Patient. I was sitting at the desk, as Protocol 5A instructed. I did not look out the windows. I did not attempt to count the steps. I listened to them pass the front door, then the side wall, then the rear of the station where the generator hummed, then the other side, then the front again. Over and over. A perfect circle. Never stopping, never varying. At 3:47 a.m., 2 minutes past the end of the window specified in the amendment, the footsteps stopped. I waited 5 more minutes. Then I stood up and looked out the window. The clearing around the station was empty. The tree line was dark. The storage building door was closed. But there was something in the dirt, a path, worn into the ground, circling the station at what looked like exactly 25 feet from the walls. The same distance as my nightly patrol. I hadn't noticed it before. I was certain it hadn't been there when Ellison arrived. I noted it in my log. Visible patrol path observed around station perimeter. Origin unknown. Width approximately 6 inches. Consistent with repeated foot traffic. I did not report it during my morning check-in. I wasn't sure why. Something about the path felt like it was meant for me to find. Like a message, like a warning. The trainee arrived on day 23. Her name was Paulson. Mid-20s, dark hair pulled back, the kind of calm efficiency that suggested either military background or extensive backcountry experience. Ellison didn't introduce her. He just showed up at noon with her in the passenger seat and handed me a revised duty roster. Paulson will be shadowing you for the next 2 weeks. Show her the protocols, answer her questions. If she's still here at the end of 14 days, she'll be assigned to Station 11. I looked at the roster. 2-person shifts, alternating sleep schedules. One awake at all times, one patrolling while the other monitored the radio. The station only has 1 cot, I said. There's a second one in the storage building. Bring it in before sunset. He was gone before I could ask anything else. Paulson didn't say much that first day. She read the protocols, original and amendments, while I retrieved the cot from storage. She studied the map, traced the trails with her finger, asked practical questions about water sources, wildlife encounters, emergency evacuation routes. She didn't ask about the rules, not directly. At 8:45 p.m., 13 minutes before sunset, she finally spoke about them. These protocols, the knocking, the voices, the figures at the tree line, how much of this is real? I was checking the battery levels on the backup system. 93%. Enough for 8 hours if the generator failed. All of it, I said. You've experienced it. Yes. What do they want? The things outside. I finished my check and closed the cabinet. I don't know. The protocols don't explain. They just tell you what to do. And what happens if you don't follow them? I thought about Vasquez's letter. I thought about the figures at the tree line. I thought about the footsteps that circled the station at exactly 25 feet. The same distance as my patrol. As if something was learning my patterns. I don't know, I said. I haven't tested it. But someone has. Probably. She was quiet for a moment. Then she picked up her flashlight and headed for the supply closet. 9:30 patrol. I'll take the first one. You can watch from the window. Make sure I'm doing it right. The window above the desk, not the side windows. Why? I don't know, but I only use that one. She nodded and went outside. I watched her walk the perimeter, counted her steps through the glass. 222, well within range. She maintained the distance precisely, checking her feet against the worn path in the dirt. When she came back inside, she didn't mention the path. I didn't either. At 11:31 p.m., the knocking started. 3 sharp raps. the same pattern as my first night. Paulson was at the desk, updating the supply log. I was on the cot, not sleeping, just resting with my eyes open. She looked at me. Protocol 2? Protocol 2. She put down her pen. The knocking came again. 3 raps, then a pause, then 3 more. Hello? A woman's voice, young, frightened. Is anyone there? I've been walking for hours. Please help me. Paulson stood up and walked toward the door. Don't, I said. She stopped. I'm not opening it. I just want to hear better. Don't approach the door. That's what it says. Don't approach. She hesitated. The voice outside. Please, my phone is dead. I'm so cold. I just need to use your radio. It's the same script, I said quietly. Word for word, same as my first night. Paulson turned to look at me. Her face was pale in the lamplight. Word for word. Yes. The voice outside. Please, please let me in. She came back to the desk, sat down, picked up her pen. We waited. At 11:54, the voice changed. Still the same timbre, but different words now. Adler, I know you're in there. I've been watching you. 23 days. I've learned your patrol. I've learned your timing. I've learned your voice. Paulson looked at me. Don't respond, I said. Adler, let me show you something. Come to the window. Just look outside. I want to show you what I've been making. I stayed on the cot. Paulson stayed at the desk. Neither of us moved. I found the woman you're thinking about. The one from Spokane. The one whose husband found out. She misses you, Adler. She wants to talk to you. Don't you want to hear her voice? I closed my eyes. I can bring her here. I can bring anyone here. Anyone you've lost. Anyone you've hurt. Anyone who hurt you. All you have to do is open the door. At 12:07 a.m., 7 minutes past midnight, the voice stopped. I heard footsteps walking away, not toward the tree line, but circling the station, following the path. Paulson was staring at me. Who's the woman from Spokane? Nobody. It knew your name. It doesn't know anything. It mimics. It probes. It says things to see what makes you react. I sat up on the cot, swung my legs over the side. Don't let it see you react. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she turned back to her log. Neither of us mentioned what the voice had said, but I saw her looking at me differently after that. Curious, wary, like she was wondering what I'd done in Spokane. The 4th week was worse. The knocking came every night now, sometimes starting as early as 10:15 p.m., continuing past midnight. The voices changed, male, female, young, old. But the pattern was always the same. Pleas for help, demands for entry, information designed to provoke a response. Paulson's name, her father's name, a reference to an accident in her hometown that I'd never heard her mention. My name, the woman from Spokane, details about the school board hearing, details that weren't public record. The footsteps circled the station every night between 3 and 3:45. Sometimes I thought I could hear voices within them, whispered fragments, half sentences, words that almost made sense. The figures at the tree line multiplied. 1 became 2. 2 became 3. They stood at different points around the clearing, spaced evenly, like sentries. They never moved while I watched, but their positions changed between observations. I started noting their distances in my log. 58 yards, 62 yards, 51 yards. They were getting closer, an inch at a time, a foot at a time, but closer. On day 30, I found a new piece of paper slipped under the front door. It was there at sunrise, lying on the floor when I came down from the bathroom. typewritten, yellowed paper, same as the original protocols. But I hadn't heard anyone approach. The motion sensor light on the porch hadn't triggered. The door was still locked from the inside. I read it standing in the middle of the room, keeping my distance from the windows. Amended Operational Protocols, Addendum 2, 1B. The figures at the tree line may begin to approach the station after prolonged observation. If their distance from the station perimeter decreases to less than 40 feet, do not complete nightly patrols. Radio Channel 4 with the phrase perimeter encroachment, requesting guidance, and await instructions. 2. B voices heard from outside the station may begin to incorporate personal information about station personnel. This information may be accurate. Do not confirm or deny any statements made by these voices. Do not engage in dialogue. Do not attempt to determine the source of their knowledge. 3B. If you observe personnel at the station who are not confirmed via radio on Channel 4, with the correct daily code word, do not acknowledge their presence. Do not speak to them. Do not provide them with supplies, shelter, or assistance. Return to the station immediately and radio your observations to Supervisor Ellison on Channel 9. 4B. Between midnight and 4 a.m., you may notice changes to the interior of the station. Furniture moved, items rearranged, doors opened or closed that you did not move yourself. Do not attempt to restore the original arrangement. Note the changes in your log and continue normal operations. If the changes obstruct your exit routes, radio Channel 4 immediately. 5B. If you find written materials inside the station that you did not create and that were not provided by Supervisor Ellison, read them in full and incorporate any instructions into your protocols. Do not discard these materials. Do not discuss them with other station personnel until Supervisor Ellison has reviewed them during his monthly visit. I read the last line again. Do not discuss them with other station personnel. Paulson was upstairs. I could hear her moving around in the bathroom. I folded the paper and put it in my pocket. At 6 a.m., I completed my radio check-in. Station 14 operational, perimeter figures, observed at 51 yards. New protocol documentation received overnight, awaiting guidance. A long pause, then Ellison's voice, different than before. Tighter, more controlled. Station 14, confirmed documentation received through the door. Confirmed. Incorporate all instructions, continue normal operations. I'll advance my visit to the 20th. Understood. I set down the radio. Paulson was coming down the stairs. Morning check-in, she asked. Yes, Ellison's coming on the 20th instead of the 1st. Why? I didn't answer. I walked to the window above the desk and looked out at the tree line. The figures were still there. 3 of them standing in the shadows. But their positions had changed again, closer. 48 yards by my estimate. I didn't tell Paulson about the new protocols. Protocol 5B was clear, but I watched her differently after that. Noted her movements. Noted her questions. The voices outside had known her father's name. I wondered how. The 10th night with Paulson was when she broke the first rule. I was asleep, or trying to sleep, which was the same thing by that point. When I heard the front door open, the sound of the latch disengaging, the creak of hinges, the rush of cold night air. I was off the cot before I was fully awake. Paulson was standing in the doorway, one hand on the knob, looking out into the darkness. The porch light was on, casting a weak yellow circle that barely reached the edge of the clearing. Paulson closed the door. She didn't move. Her head was tilted, like she was listening to something. Paulson." I crossed the room, grabbed her arm, pulled her back. She stumbled, nearly fell, and I slammed the door shut and threw the deadbolt. "What the hell are you doing?" She blinked at me. Her face was blank, confused, like someone waking from a dream. I thought I heard. "It doesn't matter what you heard. You don't open the door. You never open the door." But she was calling for me, my mother. She was, "Your mother isn't here. Your mother isn't outside. Whatever is outside is not your mother." She was shaking now. I could feel it through her arm where I was still gripping her sleeve. It sounded exactly like her, exactly. The way she calls my name when she's worried, the little catch in her voice. How could it know that? I let go of her arm and stepped back. The clock on the wall read 2:43 a.m. I don't know how it knows, but it knows things about me too. Things no one should know. It uses them. It finds the thing that will make you open the door, and it uses it. She slid down the wall until she was sitting on the floor. I almost went outside. I had my hand on the knob, and I was going to walk out there. But you didn't. You stopped me. That's why there are two of us now. I sat down on the cot. My heart was pounding. The door had been open for maybe 3 seconds, maybe 4. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know if anything had gotten in. I looked around the room. Nothing seemed different. Nothing seemed moved. But I had the feeling, irrational, unverifiable, that something had changed. Something small. Something I wouldn't notice until it was too late. "New rule," I said. "When you're on watch, I tie a cord around my ankle. When I'm on watch, you do the same. If you try to leave, I feel it. If I try to leave, you feel it." Paulson nodded slowly. "Okay. And if either of us opens that door again without radio confirmation, the other one does whatever is necessary to stop them." She looked up at me. Her eyes were red, exhausted, haunted. "What do you mean by whatever is necessary?" I didn't answer. I didn't know what I meant. But I knew the protocols weren't enough anymore. The rules were getting stricter for a reason. The things outside were getting closer for a reason. And we had 5 more days until Ellison arrived. 5 days turned out to be too many. On day 34, Paulson disappeared. I woke up at 6:15 a.m., 15 minutes past the automatic generator restart, 15 minutes past sunrise. The cord around my ankle was still tied to the leg of the cot, but the other end, the end that should have been around Paulson's ankle, was cut clean through. She wasn't in the station. I checked the bathroom. I checked the closets. I checked every corner of the main room and the space beneath the stairs. Gone. I checked the front door, still locked from the inside, the deadbolt, the chain, the secondary latch I'd installed on day 28, all secured. I checked the windows, all sealed, no damage, no signs of forced entry. But Paulson was gone. I radioed Channel 4. "Station 14 to Supervisor Ellison, emergency. Station personnel missing. Repeat, station personnel missing." Static. Then, "Station 14, confirm identity of missing personnel. Trainee Paulson, last confirmed contact approximately 2:30 a.m. Discovered missing at 6:15 a.m. All exits secured. No signs of exit or entry." A long pause, longer than usual. "Station 14, have you observed any changes to the station interior?" I looked around the room again. The cot, the desk, the radio cabinet, the supply closet door, standing slightly ajar when I was certain I'd closed it the night before. Affirmative. Supply closet door open. No other observable changes. Do not approach the supply closet. Do not attempt to close the door. Maintain position in the center of the main room. I'm en route. ETA 4 hours. Understood. I sat down on my cot and waited. At 7:42 a.m., I heard sounds from inside the supply closet. Not voices, not knocking. A wet, rhythmic sound, like something being dragged across a damp surface, like footsteps in mud. The closet was 6 feet from my cot. I could see the gap where the door hung open. Maybe 4 inches of darkness, showing nothing. The sound continued, slow, patient. At 8:19 a.m., the sound stopped. At 8:23 a.m., a piece of paper slid out from under the supply closet door. I didn't move. I kept my eyes on the paper, yellowed, typewritten, same format as all the others, and waited. Nothing else happened. At 9:04 a.m., I stood up and walked to the paper. I picked it up and returned to my cot before I read it. Emergency Protocol 1. Active breach. If station personnel are removed from the station without physical evidence of exit, an active breach has occurred. The following procedures are now in effect. 1. Do not leave the main room for any reason until cleared by Supervisor Ellison. 2. Do not open any interior doors, including closets, cabinets, and the records room. All doors should remain in their current position until inspected. 3. Do not turn off any lights. If lights fail or extinguish, do not attempt to restore them. 4. If you hear the missing personnel's voice from within the station, do not respond. Do not approach the source of the voice. Do not attempt to locate the missing personnel. Woo. If you observe the missing personnel within the station, do not acknowledge their presence. Do not speak to them. Do not make eye contact. Return to the center of the main room and radio channel 9 with the phrase, "visual contact with compromised personnel." I read the protocols 3 times. Then I read them again. Paulson wasn't just missing. According to these protocols, she was compromised. Whatever had taken her, however it had taken her from a locked room without leaving any trace, had done something to her. Something that meant I couldn't trust her anymore. At 10:17 a.m., I heard her voice. "Adler, are you there?" Coming from the supply closet, I didn't respond. "Adler, I got lost. I don't know how I ended up in here. Can you help me?" The voice was perfect. Every inflection, every hesitation, exactly like Paulson. I sat on my cot and stared at the wall opposite the closet. "Adler, please. I'm scared. It's dark in here. I don't understand what's happening." I didn't move. "I can hear you breathing. I know you're there. Why won't you answer me?" I focused on my breathing, in and out, slow and steady. "Adler, look at me. Just look at me. I'm right here." I felt the pull, the almost physical urge to turn my head, to look at the closet, to see if she was really there. I didn't look. At 10:43 a.m., the voice changed. "You're going to die in here, Adler. You know that, right? They all die eventually. Vasquez is dead. Everyone before him is dead. And you're going to die too." I picked up my field guide and opened it to a random page. Nuthatches, small birds with blue-gray backs and rusty undersides. They walk down tree trunks head first. "I can see your mother. She's standing right behind you. Turn around, Adler. She wants to say goodbye." My mother died when I was 12. Cancer. 3 months from diagnosis to funeral. I read about nuthatches, their diet, their range, their nesting habits. Turn around. I didn't turn around. At 11:31 a.m., the voice stopped. At 1:46 p.m., Supervisor Ellison arrived. He came in through the front door, announced via radio with the correct code word, Sparrow, the word for the 20th day of each month. He was carrying a canvas bag and a shotgun. He didn't ask about Paulson. He didn't ask what had happened. He walked to the supply closet and stood in front of the open door. How long has it been active? Since approximately 7:42 a.m. Vocalizations from 10:17 to approximately 11:31. Did you respond? No. Did you look? No. He nodded slowly. Good. He reached into his bag and pulled out a roll of heavy-duty tape, the kind used for sealing packages, 2 inches wide, gray and fibrous. I'm going to seal this door. You're going to watch me and confirm that I don't open it any further than it currently is. If I start to open it, you radio channel 9 with the phrase supervisor compromised. Do you understand? Yes. He began applying tape, horizontal strips across the gap, then vertical strips over those, then diagonal strips creating an X pattern. 3 full layers. When he was done, the door was covered in a grid of tape so thick it looked almost like armor. He stepped back and examined his work. The closet is sealed. Protocol 4 is now in effect for this location. Do not approach. Do not remove tape. Do not acknowledge sounds from within. What about Paulson? He turned to look at me. His face was more tired than I'd ever seen it. Lines deeper, eyes more hollow. Paulson is not Paulson anymore. What's in that closet is not Paulson. It's wearing her voice because it learned her voice, but it's not her. Where is she? The real Paulson? He was quiet for a long moment. The same place all the others are. The same place the missing persons go. He picked up his bag and walked toward the door. We don't know where that is. We just know they don't come back, not the way they left. He paused at the threshold. I'm leaving you with expanded protocols. Emergency Protocol 2 and 3. Read them tonight. Follow them exactly. There's going to be a storm tomorrow. Heavy wind, possible power loss. You'll need to be ready. Am I staying here alone? For now. I'll send a replacement when the weather clears. 3 days, maybe 4. And if something happens before then. He looked out at the tree line. The figures were still there, 4 of them now, positioned at what I estimated to be 41 yards from the station perimeter. Then you follow the protocols. That's all any of us can do. He left. I watched his truck disappear down the road. Then I sat down and read the new protocols. Emergency Protocol 2. Extended isolation during atmospheric disturbance. When a storm or other atmospheric event compromises normal operations, the following procedures supersede standard protocols. 1. Secure all windows with blackout curtains before the event begins. Do not remove the curtains until 12 hours after the event concludes, or until directed by radio communication on Channel 4 with the correct code word. 2. If the generator fails during the event, do not attempt to restore power. Use battery-powered lighting only. Conserve battery power by limiting light to 1 lamp, positioned in the center of the main room. 3. Radio communications may be disrupted during the event. Attempt contact on Channel 4 at 6 a.m., noon, and 6 p.m. only. Do not attempt contact at other times. If you receive communications at other times, do not respond. 4. The entities outside the station may increase activity during atmospheric disturbances. You may hear knocking, voices, or other sounds continuously throughout the event. Do not respond to any of these sounds. Do not approach windows or doors. 5. If you observe interior changes, furniture moved, doors opened or closed, items rearranged, do not attempt to restore the original arrangement. Maintain position in the center of the main room and await the end of the event. 6. If you observe personnel inside the station who were not present before the event began, follow Emergency Protocol 1, Directive 5. Do not acknowledge their presence. Do not speak to them. Do not make eye contact. Radio Channel 9. Emergency Protocol 3. Siege conditions. If multiple entities breach the station perimeter during an atmospheric disturbance, siege conditions are in effect. The following procedures apply. 1. All exterior patrols are suspended. Do not leave the main room for any reason. 2. Secure yourself to a fixed point using the restraint cord stored beneath the cot. This prevents involuntary movement in case of mimicry-induced compulsion. 3. Maintain vocal silence. Do not speak aloud for any reason. Communicate only via written notes if communication with other personnel is necessary. 4. If you hear your own voice speaking to you from another location within the station, cover your ears and focus on physical sensation. The floor beneath you, the cord around your ankle, the weight of your body. Do not listen to the words. 5. If siege conditions persist for more than 12 hours, you may experience perceptual disturbances. Time appearing to slow or accelerate, distances appearing to change, familiar objects appearing unfamiliar. These disturbances are temporary. Maintain focus on physical objects within reach. Count to 100 repeatedly if necessary. I set the protocols down. Outside, the wind was picking up. The trees along the perimeter were starting to sway. I looked at the sealed supply closet. No sounds, no movement. I looked at the figures at the tree line, 4 of them, 41 yards. I looked at the clock, 3:27 p.m. The storm was supposed to hit at nightfall. I had less than 4 hours to prepare. The storm hit at 7:43 p.m., 18 minutes after sunset. I had every window covered with blackout curtains by 6:30. I had checked the battery levels, 89% on the backup system, enough for approximately 7 hours. I had positioned my cot in the center of the room, tied the restraint cord around my ankle, and secured the other end to the leg of the desk. The heaviest piece of furniture that was bolted to the floor. I had 1 lamp, 1 bottle of water, 1 notebook and pen for written communication, 1 flashlight in reserve. I had 14 hours until sunrise. The wind came first. A sound like freight trains in the distance, growing closer, growing louder, until the entire station shuddered with each gust. Rain followed, hammering the roof in waves that came and went with the wind. At 8:12 p.m., the power went out. The generator didn't sputter or struggle. It simply stopped, as if someone had flipped a switch. The hum that I'd grown so accustomed to over 34 days vanished, and the silence that replaced it was absolute. I turned on my lamp, a single circle of light in the darkness. I waited. At 8:37 p.m., the knocking started, not on the door, on the walls, all around me, moving in a circle. Front wall, side wall, back wall, side wall, front wall again. The same rhythm as the footsteps I'd heard during those early weeks, but louder, harder, like fists instead of feet. I didn't respond. I sat in my circle of light and listened. At 9:04 p.m., the knocking stopped. The voices started. Adler. My mother's voice, coming from somewhere above me, the bathroom, maybe, or the roof. Adler, I'm so proud of you. I'm so sorry I couldn't be there. I covered my ears. Adler. A different voice now, male, familiar, though I couldn't place it. You don't have to stay here. You can leave anytime you want. Just open the door. I pressed my hands tighter against my ears. I could still hear them. The voices weren't coming from outside. They were coming from inside my own head. Adler. Paulson's voice, clear as a bell. I found a way out. There's a path through the trees. Come with me. I'll show you. I started counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. Adler, look at me. 5, 6, 7, 8. Just turn your head. I'm standing right behind you. You can see me if you just turn around. 9, 10, 11. At 9:22 p.m., the voices stopped. At 9:23 p.m., something touched my shoulder. I didn't turn around. I kept my eyes fixed on the lamp, the flame-like glow of the battery-powered LED, and I counted. 12, 13, 14. The pressure on my shoulder increased. Fingers, cold fingers. 5 of them pressing into the muscle above my collarbone. 15, 16. Adler, look at me. The voice was right behind me, not above me, not through the walls. Directly behind me, close enough that I could feel breath on the back of my neck. 17, 18. I didn't look. At 9:31 p.m., the fingers released. The presence withdrew. I heard footsteps, actual footsteps, physical footsteps, moving across the floor behind me, and then the creak of the stairs. Someone was going upstairs. I sat in my circle of light and stared at the lamp. I didn't turn around. I didn't look at the stairs. At 9:58 p.m., I heard water running in the bathroom above me. At 10:16 p.m., the water stopped. At 10:22 p.m., I heard footsteps on the stairs again, coming down. I kept my eyes on the lamp. The footsteps reached the bottom of the stairs, crossed the floor behind me, stopped. Adler, Paulson's voice. It's me. I came back. I found a way back. I didn't respond. Adler, please, just look at me. I'm so scared. I need you to see me. I started counting again. 1, 2, 3. If you don't look at me, I'll forget what I look like. Do you understand? I'll forget who I am. Please, just one look. That's all I need. 4, 5, 6, 7. Adler. The voice was cracking now, breaking apart at the edges. Not quite Paulson anymore. Adler. 8, 9, 10. At 10:37 p.m., the voice stopped. At 10:38 p.m., I heard the supply closet door rattle against its tape seal. I kept counting. The night lasted forever. At 11:19 p.m., I heard sounds from multiple locations simultaneously. Knocking on the front door, footsteps on the roof, voices from the supply closet, something scraping against the window above the desk, even though the curtain blocked my view. At midnight, my lamp flickered. I checked the battery meter. 54%. I had been consuming power faster than expected. The temperature in the room had dropped. I could see my breath now, small clouds of vapor in the lamplight. At 12:41 a.m., the voices started speaking in unison. Not the same words, different words, overlapping, creating a wall of sound that pressed against my consciousness like a physical weight. Adler opened the door. Adler, come outside. Adler, look at me, Adler. I found her, Adler. She's waiting. Adler, the path is clear. Adler, just turn around. Adler, please, Adler. Please, Adler. I pressed my hands against my ears. I bent forward until my forehead touched my knees. I counted as fast as I could. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. At 1:07 a.m., the voices stopped. The silence was worse. I lifted my head. The lamp was still burning. 41% battery now. The room looked the same. The curtains were still in place. The supply closet door was still taped shut. But something had changed. The desk wasn't where I'd left it. It had moved. Not much, maybe 18 inches, but enough that I noticed. Enough that the cord around my ankle, the cord that was tied to the desk leg, was now taut instead of slack. I hadn't felt it move. I hadn't heard it move. Protocol 2, Directive 5. If you observe interior changes, furniture moved, Doors opened or closed, items rearranged. Do not attempt to restore the original arrangement. I looked at the cord around my ankle. Then I looked at the desk. If the desk had moved once, it could move again, and if it moved far enough, it would drag me with it. I untied the cord from my ankle. Then I retied it to a different anchor point, the water pipe that ran along the baseboard near the front door. The pipe was fixed. It couldn't move. I sat back down in the center of the room. At 1:33 a.m., the desk moved again. This time, I saw it happen. A slow, grinding slide across the floor, moving toward the supply closet, 2 inches, then 3, then 5. Then it stopped. The lamp on the desk remained upright. My water bottle, sitting on the desk's surface, remained in place. Nothing fell. Nothing spilled. The desk was now 12 inches closer to the sealed closet door. I looked at the closet. The tape was still in place. The door was still closed. But beneath the tape, in the gap between door and frame, I could see movement. Something dark, something shifting. I turned away and stared at the lamp. At 2:10 a.m., I remembered Protocol 5. Between 2:10 a.m. and 2:30 a.m., cover the window above the desk with the blackout curtain. The curtain must be secured on all 4 corners. The window above the desk was already covered. Had been covered since before the storm began. But the curtain had been put up hastily, and one corner was starting to sag. I stood up. The cord around my ankle pulled tight against the water pipe. I walked toward the desk, measuring my steps against the length of cord I had. 4 feet, 5 feet, 6 feet. The cord ran out. The curtain was 8 feet away. I untied the cord from my ankle. Then I walked to the window and secured the loose corner. One hook fastened tight. When I turned around, the desk had moved again. It was now directly between me and my cot, blocking the path back to the center of the room. The supply closet door was 3 feet from the desk. The tape was peeling at the edges. I looked at the clock on the wall, a battery-powered unit, still running. 2:17 a.m., 13 minutes until I was supposed to remove the curtain. I walked around the desk, keeping as much distance as possible from the supply closet. I made it back to my cot. I tied the cord around my ankle again. I waited. At 2:31 a.m., I stood up and walked to the window. Protocol 5 said to remove the curtain after 2:30 a.m. and fold it. I reached for the corner hook. The supply closet door rattled. I didn't look. I unfastened one corner, then another, then the third, then the fourth. The curtain fell. Outside the window, in the darkness beyond the glass, something was standing at the tree line. Not the usual figures, those distant shapes I'd grown accustomed to over the past 34 days. This was closer, much closer. 10 feet from the window, maybe less. Human-shaped, wearing a green Park Service uniform. It had Paulson's face, but the face was wrong. The proportions were slightly off. Eyes too wide, mouth too narrow. Everything shifted a few degrees from where it should be, like a reflection in a warped mirror. It was looking directly at me. I folded the curtain, slowly, carefully, keeping my eyes on the fabric in my hands. When I looked up again, the figure was gone, but I could see its footprints in the mud outside the window. They led from the tree line to the station, stopping exactly at the edge of the porch. They stopped at the threshold. I returned the curtain to the supply closet and sat back down on my cot. At 3:12 a.m., the footsteps started again. The circle around the station, the steady, patient rhythm. But different this time, heavier, faster, closer. The footsteps weren't at 25 feet anymore. I could hear them on the porch. At 3:27 a.m., The front door handle turned. I watched it move. A slow rotation, clockwise, testing the lock. The deadbolt held. The chain held. The secondary latch held. The handle returned to its original position. Then the knocking started. Not 3 raps, continuous. A pounding so loud it shook the walls. So insistent it felt like the door would splinter at any moment. I covered my ears. Adler! One voice, 100 voices. Every voice I'd heard over the past 5 weeks, speaking in unison. Adler, let us in! I pressed my hands tighter against my ears. Adler, we know what you did. We know why you came here. We know about Spokane. I started counting. 1, 2, 3. She didn't deserve what happened to her, but neither did you. We can make it right. We can make everything right. All you have to do is open the door. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Adler, 9, 10. At 3:46 a.m., 1 minute past the protocol time window, the pounding stopped. The silence was absolute. I lowered my hands from my ears. The station was quiet. The storm was still raging outside. I could hear the wind, the rain. But inside, nothing. No voices, no footsteps, no movement. I looked at the supply closet. The tape was still holding. The door was still closed. I looked at the desk. It hadn't moved since 2:17. I looked at the lamp, 12% battery, maybe 40 minutes of light remaining. I sat in the center of the room and waited for sunrise. At 4:51 a.m., the battery died. The lamp flickered once, twice, then went dark. I sat in complete blackness. I could hear my own breathing. I could feel my own heartbeat. I could feel the floor beneath me, the cord around my ankle, the weight of my body against the cot. I could not see anything. At 5:03 a.m., I heard breathing that wasn't mine, close, within arm's reach, slow and steady, like someone sleeping. I didn't move. Adler. A whisper, right next to my ear. So quiet I might have imagined it. I didn't respond. Adler. I'm right here. I've been here all night, watching you, waiting for you to sleep. I held my breath. You never sleep anymore, do you? You're too afraid. You think if you sleep, you'll wake up somewhere else, somewhere you can't get back from. The breathing moved, circling me, slow, patient. You're right. At 5:17 a.m., the generator kicked on. The lights came back. The hum returned, and the room was empty. Just me. The cot. The desk, still displaced from its original position. The supply closet, tape intact. The windows, curtains still in place. No one else. But on the floor, in a circle around my cot, there were footprints. Bare feet, human-shaped, pressed into the dust and dirt that had accumulated on the floorboards. The footprints circled my cot exactly 7 times before they stopped. I counted them twice to be sure. Ellison came back 3 days later, after the storm had passed. He brought a cleanup crew, 3 people I'd never seen before, all wearing the same green uniforms, all communicating only by radio with the correct code words. They didn't speak to me directly. They removed the tape from the supply closet. They opened the door. I wasn't allowed to see what was inside. They made me wait on the porch while they worked. When they were done, the closet was empty. The shelves were bare. The walls had been scrubbed clean. Whatever had been in there was gone. Ellison sat with me while the crew finished their work. You survived, he said. 41 days. That's longer than most. Paulson didn't survive. No. What happened to her? Really? He was quiet for a moment. We don't know. Not exactly. The park takes people sometimes. Has for as long as we've been running these stations. We think it needs them. For what, we can't say. maybe as food, maybe as fuel, maybe as something else entirely. The figures at the tree line, the voices, the things that mimic people we know. What are they? The park, or part of it. We don't have names for them because names imply understanding. And we don't understand. We just have rules. And the rules keep us safe. The rules keep us alive. There's a difference. He stood up and walked to the door. You have a choice. You can leave now, take your pay, sign the NDA, never speak about what happened here. We'll arrange transport to wherever you want to go. And the other option, you stay, learn the expanded protocols, take over management of Station 14 when I retire next spring. He paused. The park seems to accept some people. You might be one of them. Accept? It's watched you for 41 days. It's tested you. And you're still here, still functioning. That means something to it. We don't know what, but it means something. I thought about the footsteps circling my cot 7 times. A number that might have been random, might have been deliberate. I thought about the figure with Paulson's face, standing at the tree line, stopping at the threshold. I thought about all the things the voices had said, about Spokane, about my mother, about every failure and regret I'd spent years trying to escape. If I stay, I said, what happens next? You learn, you adapt, you write protocols for the people who come after you. He looked out at the tree line. You become part of the system that keeps this contained, because whatever's in this park, it's not leaving, and someone has to watch it. I stayed. It's been 14 months now. I've seen 3 more trainees come and go, 2 transfers, 1 loss. I've written 47 amendments to the original protocols. I've documented 112 anomalous events, categorized by type and severity. The figures at the tree line are still there. 4 of them, always 4, maintaining a distance of exactly 40 feet from the station perimeter. They don't come closer anymore. I think they've accepted that I'm not leaving. Or maybe they're just waiting. Last week, I received a new hire packet from Ellison, a replacement for Station 11. Young woman, mid-20s, practical and efficient. She's starting next Monday. I've prepared her orientation materials, the original protocols, the amendments, the emergency procedures, and a letter, handwritten in my own steady hand, explaining what she needs to know. The protocols are real. Follow them exactly. The things in the park are patient. They learn your voice. They learn your face. They learn who you miss. Don't give them anything they can use. Stay inside. Follow the rules. Count your steps. Watch the clock. Good luck. You'll need it. S. Adler, Station 14. The morning I finished the letter, I did my 6 a.m. check-in like always. Then I walked to the window above the desk and looked out at the tree line. The figures were there, 4 of them, same as yesterday, same as the day before. But one of them had moved, not toward the station, away from it, further into the trees. Barely visible now, just a shadow among shadows. I watched for a long time. The figure didn't move again, but just before I turned away, just before I went back to my desk and my logs and my endless vigilance, I saw it do something I'd never seen any of them do before. It waved, a small gesture, almost friendly, like a neighbor across a fence. I didn't wave back, but I wondered as I closed the curtain and returned to my work what it might mean. If it was a greeting, a farewell, a warning, or something else entirely. Something I would learn about eventually, when I'd been here long enough. when the park had decided I was ready. When I finally understood what the missing persons really were and why they never came back.